Dickey, is it
Yeah.
sidebar time?
Yes. Let's get back into the sidebar. The place where we take a sharp left turn into something weird or wild or worrying. Last week was about AI creeping into our childhood, into our toys, through the Mattel OpenAI collab, and um, this week I want to shift, kind of actually zoom out a little bit, away from the toys, away from the apps, and just looking at big tech and global governance, or how fear and power kind of team up to build this kind of authoritarian future that we should all be on the lookout for. And over the month of June, there were two articles that grabbed my attention. And first, it was Zephyr Teachout's piece in The Nation about how big tech controls most of cloud computing. And then more recently, there was Ross Douthat's interview with Peter Thiel in the New York Times, where at one point they talked about the rise of the Antichrist. And at first glance, these articles might seem like they clash, but read them together, and something, at least when I read them together, something really interesting kind of emerged for me. And they, both Teach Out and both Teal and a little bit of Douthat are describing an authoritarian future. They just arrive by different paths. So Teach Out's warning is quite simple and very urgent. Three companies, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they control over two-thirds of cloud computing. That means they control the infrastructure of speech and AI development, and these companies dominate government contracts. They shape what information we see, and they also decide which voices get amplified or silenced. Teach Out's solution is democratic oversight, regulation, and breaking up these monopolies before it's too late. Because if democracy depends on their goodwill, I think we're already in trouble. Just look at Google. A couple years ago, they started to very quietly delete the "don't be evil" clause from their code of conduct. So if they can't even commit to that, like, what can they commit to? And now Teal's warning points in another direction. He's not necessarily afraid of technology. He's afraid of what he calls the Antichrist, not that biblical figure, but a political force, the kind of leader who rises by promising protection from existential risks. In Teal's view, it won't be the mad scientist who seizes power. It'll be the figure who says, "Follow me, I'll keep you safe. Safe from AI, from climate collapse, from the dangers of progress." For Teal, this existential panic creates the perfect conditions for authoritarianism. Each crisis becomes justification for centralized power. His greatest fear, probably other than like mortality, is a one world state ruled by Greta Thunberg's environmental activism. Doubt that calls out the irony that Teal's company Palantir builds surveillance and military technologies that stoke the fear that Teal worries about, and that these technologies could make the public, and I think they already are, very frightened that that the public demands the kind of authoritarian protector Teal claims to dread. And the kicker is that the protector would most likely use Palantir's own tools to enforce control. And so, yeah, in my imagination right now, I'm also hearing Zephyr Teach Out saying, "Look, Mr. Teal, what you're describing is exactly what happens when we don't have democratic governance. The problem isn't the fear, it's the absence of systems that keep power accountable before fear takes over." So clearly, I'm more team Teach Out, and I think, lowercase d democratic governance. I think that beats a monopoly every time. And as much as I don't buy Teal's reading of history, and I think he's blind to his own contradictions, I will admit that his caution about savior narratives, I think, is worth holding on to. And it's because the danger cuts both ways. Like, good policies that keep authority, the good ones that can keep authority open to challenge, or they're built on systems that are local, specific, collective, these can be framed as anarchic or just totally dangerous by those who want to keep power in the hands of a few, or keep it unaccountable. And then there can be really bad policies sold with good stories. The stories that speak to our hopes and calm our fears, and also that make it far too easy to hand over too much power. And so I think this is where media literacy really plays a role and really matters. And it's not just about spotting bias or fact checking, it's about recognizing the deeper stories we're being sold. Like, when politicians promise to save us from big tech, we should ask, are they building democratic systems, or just asking us to trust them as the hero? And then there's the other side. When you hear hands off tech, What's the story there? Like that we should trust markets, that innovation will save us, that abundance will solve the crisis if we just stay out of the way. This also sounds like a savior story, but it just is swapping the hero politician for the hero market. And so, yeah, again, media literacy is crucial. It really can get us to the next steps, which is help those next steps of supporting democratic systems and building accountability. Definitely not waiting for heroes. So, detoxers, that's your sidebar reality check for this week. Stay sharp out there. Till next time.
I love it, Dickey. I love it. I think something you said in there about the connection to media literacy too is discussing power. You can't really talk about media without some power analysis. And I also like the way you kind of did a really diverse ideological analysis there as well. I was thinking as you're going back and forth, conservatives and liberals alike would have a tough time kind of wrapping their mind around what you just said. That was a really great sidebar.
Yeah, thank you. And I totally agree. It's power analysis. What's the ethos and the character of a system that really can determine things. And yeah, I always find it interesting the Venn diagram of like where there's overlap and ideologically speaking. So you know, it's a
Yeah,
nuance. Yeah, big fan.
I'm gonna go ahead and forgive you for that truth or troll game. That's how good that
Okay,
sidebar
good.
was. Right.
I'm forgiven. Nice.
All right. Well, detoxers, I appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you tuning in. I want to thank Sydney Sullivan and Dickey for being here as always. We will be back as the Media Literacy Wrecking Crew soon. Until next time, keep detoxing.
Hey detoxers, this is the Disinfo Detox. If you believe in media literacy for all, help us keep going. Become a paid subscriber at patreon.com/disinfodetox. There's also plenty of free ways to support. You can like, comment, follow, or share. Every little bit helps. Thanks for supporting the Disinfo Detox, where media literacy meets breaking news.